You are now watching Lesage, the best place to learn about competitive Pokemon TCG. Let's get it! Yo, what's poppin' YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, Lesage here. Today we're going to be covering over Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX. Now, I've covered this deck a few times before, but most recently my Shuffle Squad teammates, Vaughn O'Brien and Gabe Smart, both respectively came first and second at the Connecticut 1K event this past weekend. So I'm going to be covering their list, kind of showing you what an updated version of Shadow Rider Calyrex looks like in this format. I'm hyped to share this with you today. The list is going to be in the description so you can copy paste their list, and shout out to them. If you haven't already checked out their content, be sure to check out their content on Twitter and YouTube, and check out the Shuffle Squad on YouTube as well. I also create content there. That being said, let's jump into this deck profile and see what this deck's about. So this is the exact same list that Vaughn was able to win and Gabe was able to come second with. So both my teammates have been working on this deck, played this deck, and they were able to come first and second at a cash event. What more can you ask for? The goal of Shadow Rider Calyrex is always to use Underworld Door, accelerate psychic energies, draw cards, and hit as hard as you possibly can with Max Geist. This deck kind of doubles down on that by having double copies of Galarian Articuno, so you're able to Cruel Charge ASAP, attaching up to 2 psychic energy cards from your hand to this Pokemon, and really hitting hard with Max Geist. It also puts energy in play for G-Max Whisk, so you're able to hit hard out of nowhere. Now, the new kind of thing that made this deck better is from Celebrations, we saw Zacian V. It has Roar of the Sword, so similar to Leafeon V, you could accelerate energies to your Pokemon, psychic energies that is, and then end your turn. So if you're not attacking, you want to be using Roar of the Sword. Most of the rest of this deck is very standard when it comes to the list in terms of like 13 energies, copy of Ordinary Rod, got a few copies of Training Court. It just seems like it's well positioned in this current metagame. So Shadow Rider is just, it went down a little bit because we saw a lot of success from other decks like Dragapult. I've always thought this deck was really good, and I've always been a sucker for Shadow Rider. So let's jump into some gameplay. Not sure if we're going to get through so many games, 1 or 2 at the very least, and see how this deck plays out, just so we can see if this version's any different than any other deck that we've been playing lately. So our opponent here is going to call the coin flip, give them a friendly hello, and we won the coin flip. Yo, let's go. As much as we want to go first, this deck can go second because of Roar of the Sword. Now, we don't have the craziest start, but we do have access to double Quick Ball and Alcremie, which means we have opportunities. And we do want to keep that in mind, that opportunities can be huge. And we top deck the Zacian. Literally, we can't ask for too much better. This is an insane start. So we're going to discard a Psychic Energy because we can get them back from Training Court. And let's look through our deck for a couple copies of Shadow Rider. Make sure that we have the Shadow Rider VMAXs. And we have energies and we have Training Courts. So we are vibing. Let's go Shadow Rider there. Let's pitch away another one. Again, we can get those back with Training Court. We're going to go for Shadow Rider V here. And we have Psychic Energy. I'm going to attach the Alcremie so we could always go for a turn 2 G-Max Whisk if we necessarily need to, or a Dormant or anything else like that. You can't really use Underworld Door to the active, so keep that in mind. So we're going to go Roar of the Sword, and we're going to attach 1 to a Shadow Rider. So turn 1, 2 energies, double Shadow Rider, Alcremie, and we're vibing. I think this is really where this deck gains strength, and you just get these huge turns. Now, depending on what our opponent's playing, they might not necessarily have too much going on. We might be able to overwhelm them quickly. If their sleeves are telling of their deck, I think that we have a pretty positive Ice Rider matchup, if I do say so myself. So we will we'll play that out and see exactly how this ends up playing out. They are playing Sobble, so it is telling of that so far. And they do play Capacious Bucket. I mean, we are looking like we have a pretty good chance of just beating this one. And next turn, our plan is just going to be using Professor's Research. I love the new Oaks Research from Celebrations. I had the other Professor, Professor Magnolia Full Arts. I like the Professor's Research, this one a lot more. It's kind of like classic to me. So we're gonna see. Okay, boom, they do have Ice Rider. Our goal is to knock out Ice Riders. The good thing about Shadow Rider is that you could knock out their Pokemon relatively quickly. Now, they might play 1 to 2 copies of Path to the Peak, or even up to 3 copies sometimes. Probably about 2 copies. So I don't think they'll be able to get it out right now. They just naturally drew into, what? Okay. Looks like they're just going to try to go through some defensive mechanism. We do have Professor's Research. We do have 3 copies of Training Court. Let's see how it plays out. We did get Marnie, whatever, we're not going to do anything. Their hand doesn't look like it's super great, although they could just have Level Ball or anything else. And we aren't going to have a way to get through this. So we kind of drew into nothing, which is not good for us at all. Not good, not good, not good. So Path to the Peak hurting us, not having Shadow Rider hurting us. We're a little bit stuck, but that's okay. We're just going to build up this, and we're going to sacrifice this Zacian. I don't think it's worthwhile for us to do too much else. I'm going to keep this Fog Crystal in my hand, just in case we have something that we can top deck into, or I'm not even entirely sure how it would all play out, but we're going to go ahead here and pass. So a little bit of an awkward hand to draw into with Professor's Research. That could happen with any deck, but we'll try our best to bounce out of it next turn. Our opponent looks like they're going to be using Drizzile to kind of get set up this turn. They might try to go for some kind of Melanie play. I'm not entirely sure what they would have in their hands, but we are relatively like a top deck away from getting an Alcremie VMAX to be able to hit hard with Gmax Whisk. We can get another supporter. We have ways to get around this, so let's just see how it works out. The fact, again, that they got their Path to the Peak out so early is just tough for us to deal with. So there's that Melanie that I was talking about. They might just build up their Ice Rider and start attacking. They also have to be very careful because we could just build up energies and play, go Gmax Whisk and knock out their Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX. So that's where the matchup can get difficult for them. We'll just continuously sacrifice prize cards until we can't anymore. So when things look a little bit tough, always try to play it out as strong and steady as possible. Because as much as most players would be like, oh man, I missed, or this sucks, I think we still have a legitimate chance at winning this game. Especially if they pitch their energies to knock out Zacian V. They've already wasted a boss's orders. And, I mean, their Path to the Peak, like, they probably only have one left in their deck. So, since we're ability heavy and we are able to come back strong in the late game, we're really only, like, a top deck or two away from happening. Like, if we top deck a Research or a Marnie next turn, we could just, like, wind up winning this game. Ugh. Good old Escape Rope. So, we are likely going to lose this Shadow Rider. I'm going to send that up because I think the Alcremie VMAX, the 1/1 line, is so important in this matchup. Let's see what our opponent does. So they are going to go max lands, probably pitching both. Oh, I'm surprised that they did that. This is actually great for us. That just seems like a mistake. Take your prize cards where you can. You got to look at it. Ride of the High King would have done 100 damage. 100 plus 250 with max land still would have been a knockout on a Shadow Rider VMAX. So keep that in mind. We are going to go Air Balloon and switch right into this. So we do have opportunities to have mobility. And now that we top deck Research, we seem to be like we are back into this game. Let's go Fog Crystal. I'm going to search out a Psychic Energy. I don't necessarily know how I feel about searching out the Psychic Energy there first, but I do want to just draw some prize cards if necessary. So let's go ahead and Research this away. Please give us a Training Court and a Shadow Rider. We are going to struggle a little bit more than what I'd like us to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 energies. 5 times 6 is 300. So we are going to be a little bit short here. But we can go ahead and go Alcremie VMAX, get built up that way. So we're not entirely in a bad spot. Their deck probably only plays a couple boss's orders. So let's go ahead and really just try again to get set up. We're going to get set up with Adornment, that is. So we are going Adornment, powering up some energies. Let's power them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. I'll leave the one off the Zacian and give us an energy left so we can have a couple Underworld doors if we could ever find a Training Court. So again, we're dealing with the Path to the Peak hard, but in terms of an ability-heavy deck, I think we're in a good spot. And the fact that our opponent just went Marnie, did not attach an energy. They can't Melanie that energy. They'd have to, like, raw draw into one. And we could be getting closer to those Training Courts. It's still kind of ridiculous that we've played Research, Marnie, so that's 7, plus a card for our turn, 8, plus Research, 7, 15, plus another Marnie, 4, so there's 19, and then our top deck is going to be the 20th card that we've effectively seen. Now, one thing that I'm debating in this match, if I evolved into the wrong Shadow Rider, I might have wanted to evolve into this one to give it some longevity. But if our opponent doesn't necessarily draw too much, we could just be in a good spot. And it does look like we are going to be knocking out this Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX here. So we could be in a pretty good spot overall, depending on how our opponent really reacts to this situation. So there's 250. Cool. Yeah, we're still just not drawing into them. That's okay. Let's just build up our board state wherever possible. I mean, it is possible for us to get set up after this, so let's see how it plays out. I don't really like how this game is turning out for what it is, for what it's worth, but let's go like this, and let's go G-Max Whisk. G-Max Whisk it is. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that. That's going to do 360 and put us 2 attacks away from winning this game. Now, we still have opportunities to kind of jump back into this game, so don't necessarily worry too much about it. The thing that's really going to hurt us the most is going to be our energy mobility left in this game. So we'll see how our opponent's able to play it out. If they're able to draw a double prize card turn or set that up, or they could potentially win the game this turn by hitting the knockout with quick shooting, and then knock out a Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX. There's a lot of things that they could do. Now, I guess they can't because they have bosses. They'd have to go bosses, orders, and Melanie. But so far, our deck is setting up well, even though Path to the Peak is hurting us quite a bit. I wouldn't be surprised if they search for an Evolution Incense so they could draw a free 2 prize cards here. But our goal, we can attach a lot of energies in a particular turn. So as long as we're able to kind of like isolate what our opponent can do and get set up, we might have access to triple Underworld Door next turn and attach an energy and maybe use Cruel Charge. We could be in a really good spot. Okay, so their Scoop of Net is totally going to be able to grab their quick shooting back. So they will be drawing 3 prize cards naturally like this. And the fact that they're setting up Suicune means we do not have to play Boss's Orders anymore. So as long as we don't use this Shadow Rider, we could be in a very good spot. There's their 3 prize cards. Awesome. And let's send up this Zacian because it already has free retreats. It has 220 HP, so our opponent would have to have a maximized bench in order to knock it out. So next turn's really our make it big kind of turn is the best way that I'd like to look at it. I think we have a legitimate shot of making it happen. Now, they've already used Melanie, so they can't really go Melanie and Boss in the same turn. So since they can't accelerate energies to this one, if we could take care of this Suicune V, we could be in a great spot. So that's what I'm being hopeful for. We still have a Boss's Orders left too, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. They didn't get the knockout there, so let's focus on getting the knockout on this Suicune V. Still no access to our Training Court, but let's go ahead and grab a couple energies back into our deck with Ordinary Rod. So let's, when it comes to Pokemon wise, I really don't care too much about the Pokemon. I don't think we're gonna get them set up. So let's just shuffle the 2 basic energies back into our deck. And let's go Fog Crystal to make, see what we have left in this deck. So we still have 3 energies left in this deck. So we could go 1, 2, 6, 7. So we can get the knockouts. So we could go Shadow Rider, Shadow Rider, Shadow Rider. We need to go Galarian Articuno at least for 1. So let's make sure that we can make this happen. There are 3 energies, so it might be tough for us to get our energies. But let's go Galarian Articuno at least for 1. Or maybe we'll just go for 2. That might just give us a better chance of getting everything else. So yeah, we're going to go for the double Psychic Energies. It might hurt us if we are able to get the Training Court a little bit. But I don't know. It's the best thing that we possibly can do. Let's go Articuno here. Another thing that we could have done is maybe gone Quick Ball away the Crobat and shuffled that back into the deck. That might have been a little bit better. The other Zacian we could just take out of our deck because we're likely not going to use it. We really need to find Training Courts in order to have a much better chance at winning this game. Let's go Air Balloon onto this Shadow Rider. Or actually, let's go Air Balloon onto this one, because our opponent's likely just going to knock out that one anyways if they bring it up. And let's pitch this hand away. this really might be what we're looking for. We have access to a couple energies, Training Court. Let's go Evolution Incense. I think we have another, okay, we don't have another Shadow Rider. We do have one Psychic Energy left, and we basically need to draw into that one as far as I'm concerned. So let's go Shadow Rider here. And let's go for our Training Court. We're going to first use Underworld Door to power up this. Might as well power that up, and then let's go Training Court, get back one of our energies. And let's go ahead and power up this, or actually let's just power up, yeah, let's just power up that. So we have access to Psy Laser. So we missed our energy. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We can hit for 190. I don't think it's necessarily worthwhile for us to hit for 190. So I think we're in a really tough spot because we did miss. Let's go Retreat here, and we're gonna go Roar of the Sword. It's really just tough to miss that. Path to the Peak really kind of hurting us because we lost so many of those energies early on, but that's okay. We're just gonna put the energy, let's just go here. If our opponent's unable to find a boss's orders, we could just kind of win the game in the next couple turns, but they do have access to Drizzile from when they lifted back their Inteleon, so we might just lose the game there. So there's the boss's orders. We were really close to taking this game, but Path to the Peak really hurt us in general. Even though we lost that game, it is one of those games where we were able to effectively use Galarian Articuno, use Underworld Door, use Alcremie VMAX, and Path to the Peak is something that you just got to deal with when it comes to most decks. I could have played that game 5 times over and we would have found all the Training Courts in the world. Sometimes you're just going to get stopped by Path to the Peak when you play a deck that plays abilities, and you might be 1 energy short of getting a knockout. Had we have been able to get that knockout, it could have been a completely different game, and we would have just absolutely steamrolled over our opponent. Nonetheless, it was an exciting game, and I'm glad we're able to showcase it on this channel as well. So if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, give this deck a try for yourself, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Again, I don't want to be like, I lost this game, try this deck out. Best of 1 could literally be happening to anyone. I don't necessarily think we made too many mistakes. That Crobat going back in the deck would have been really cool because we would have had a very strong chance of getting Training Court. But you want to know what? It is one of those things where we did struggle to find Training Court earlier on in the game, so I probably was a little bit flustered that that happened. Let me know what you think in the comments below of this deck. And again, I do want to let people know that Shadow Rider looks like it's going to be very good going into Fusion Strike with Latias and Latios. So be sure to give that a try if you haven't already. I'm a huge fan of Shadow Rider, and I'm excited to try this deck on the side when I'm playing Pokemon, coaching, all that great stuff. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and have yourself a great one. Peace. I truly appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. It means the world to me. And my goal with this channel is to spread my love of the game and knowledge with our entire Pokemon TCG community. If you haven't already, help signal boost this video to other Pokemon TCG fans by liking it, sharing it with your friends, and subscribing to the channel. Hopefully we reach our goals really soon. Check out this recommended video, and have yourself a great day. Thanks.